Hello and welcome to Thought-Provoking Tech. I'm Zach and this is Tech Tips. In this episode of Tech Tips, I'm going to be continuing my review/demonstration of LiquidSky's cloud PC platform. While they primarily market themselves as a cloud gaming platform, I've actually found a lot of success outside of the realm of gaming. So today I'm going to be looking through the eyes of an engineer/designer, and I'm going to be using Autodesk Inventor to invent stuff in the cloud. So without further delay, let's get started. Before we get started, I wanted to take a quick moment to talk about the recent announcement that LiquidSky had made. Today's the 4th, so in 2 days they're going to be making a big announcement about improvements to the platform. One thing that is mentioned is GPU performance increases, which is quite exciting actually, because that is one thing that I did find lacking. In the ultra performance mode, you get 16 gigabytes of RAM and 7 cores, which is pretty good. That I haven't, outside of the things that are pushing it to 100% at all times, such as rendering a scene in Inventor, I haven't actually had any problems with the CPU or the memory inside of games. So having a little bit more GPU performance will actually be great there. So I'm excited to see what they announce. I might make a quick video based on their announcements. Friday, this video will go live on Saturday, so just in case there's some outdated information here, that's why. So let's go ahead and get started with Autodesk Inventor. Alright, so I have a couple example assemblies from Autodesk that they have available on their website. Just to do a quick run through of kind of the differences between the local client that I have the desktop computer running on both my local machine as well as the remote client. So I'll switch between those and just do a one-on-one comparison. And then I have another example running on the remote client just to give you a quick example of kind of how everything works. So kind of panning around the model is pretty fluid. I do experience those little graphical glitches every once in a while, but for the use that you're doing now, you're not doing like real-time gaming or anything. Those aren't near as bad as an issue. I don't really distract from the experience like they do with the gaming. Definitely something that they need to figure out, and as I test and use this more and more in my daily routine, I think it really has to do with their compression algorithm and the fact that it can auto scale and detect possible network issues and reduce the quality. I think that might have something to do with it, but I'm not 100% sure. At work, we have a gigabit internet with a very low ping, so I definitely don't think it's actually the network as I originally assumed, because I did get these as I worked, use this more at work on a continued basis. So beyond that, you can zoom in. The numeral zoom in, that's the kind of standard with the mouse wheel. There's also the smooth zoom in option with Inventor. If you go down to F3 and move your mouse forward and back, pretty much any jumpiness you see there is pretty much me not moving my mouse forward and back at a nice consistent pace, other than the little graphical glitch. So let's just run to the local client real quick. So pretty much the same thing. Here's the ancient computer on my computer, local computer. And when was the last time someone saw a S video in a computer? That's been forever. But the same thing, pretty much a pretty identical experience. Outside of the little graphical glitches that you get every once in a while, it is pretty much the same experience. Not really anything you can really discern just from daily use. So let's go ahead and jump to the other model. This is just a quick test bench model that they had. It's made out of extruded aluminum. If that's nothing you've ever used, that's some pretty cool stuff. Kind of going around a little crazy there though. Some quick things I want to show is like you have interactivity with the world. If you've never used extruded aluminum, it kind of has like a T channel, which lets stuff move around in these. Let's kind of get a good view of that. So you can kind of see it there with the purple in the inside of the groove, kind of showing that T slot. So you can move around pretty fluid. Move stuff. There's a monitor arm that's It's on a hinge. They don't have it set up perfectly, but you can see that stuff is movable around the environment. So it's pretty good in constraining stuff and so on and so forth. For example, let's go ahead and constrain this bench or this tub that wasn't constrained. It's not something that really normally would be constrained because it's a simple tub. So now it's constrained on that. So if you move that, it'll move in the forward and back and left to right planes, but it won't move up and down from that surface. So let's just go ahead and constrain like this lower edge to this edge. And I straightened it up, and we're just going to offset that by 4 inches. So as you can see now, it'll just move forward and back now. Pretty much you have to constrain in all 3 axes, your X, Y, and Z. Once you have that done, your objects won't be able to move. Now that's something that would be able to move in real life, but it looks like they do that one constrained. So you wouldn't really normally constrain that in your assembly because it is just something that is there for more of a prop. But just to show off that it is quite responsive in doing kind of general constraints and stuff. Pretty much designing for the most part is pretty straightforward. You don't do super complex stuff like running simulations and stuff. Most part, the biggest thing is the Inventor Studio that I do for the most part. So with the Inventor Studio, you can set up cameras and lights. It's kind of like Maya. It's a simplified version of Maya's rendering engine for the most part, but it is CPU bound. So a lot of times I'll need to do a render, and in the past, before really moving to LiquidSky, I dabbled in doing AWS EC squared, their cloud computing platform. But it's compared to LiquidSky, if you're not using it constantly or a ton of hours, it's more expensive. And LiquidSky just has a general easier setup. Like, not something that you really need for Inventor, but sound is just more complicated to set up on AWS. You have to set up virtual sound drivers and so on and so forth, and sounds just natively here. So the LiquidSky has a very easy to use experience to just get started, other than some of the bugs that need to work out, such as the render engine, the graphical glitches and stuff like that you do see. So kind of with the Inventor Studio, one of the use cases that I use this for on a daily basis is I'll prepare a scene, set up cameras. I'm not going to really jump to that because it is a lengthy process. Most of the renders I do take about 4 hours because I do about 4K, just so they're kind of future-proof, somewhat future-proof renders. And I set up my cameras, my lighting, and so on and so forth, and just run through and have a bunch of them done. And prior to LiquidSky, I would end up with a bunch of them, and I'd set up one to go before I left at the end of the night, but then I'd get a huge backlog as I had a bunch of renders ready, because you might set up a scene with cameras and have a couple different angles, so each night you have to do a different angle and then throw a different product in there. So with like the cameras and stuff with Inventor Studio, well, it's kind of better than their other alternative, which is under the view thing, which is the ray tracer, which gets you pretty comparable on quality, not as good. You can get a lot better with Inventor Studio if you spend a little bit of time, but decent quality on the ray tracing aspect. And I think that might be GPU accelerated, not entirely CPU bound, because it does go quite a bit faster. But outside of that, you can set up the camera so you can have a consistent angle for your renders. If you're doing like renders of a different product that your company makes or that you're designing or something. So with those extra tools, it makes it very handy, and you have lighting you can add. It is pretty simplified if you use Maya before. I haven't really used 3ds Max, but it is definitely simplified compared to that too. With the little bit I have experimented with 3ds Max. So what I'll do is I'll set a whole bunch of renders up, and I'll run them on the remote client throughout the day, and go and do other work on my computer, whether that's Adobe stuff or answering emails or doing research or whatever I'm doing that day, and just run Inventor on the cloud. That way, because when it's doing the Inventor Studio renders, it's pretty much maxing out your CPU. So then everything's kind of unresponsive. Inventor will share the load. It'll kind of back off when it detects another program needing some stuff, some more CPU resources. But it is still makes the general experience of using your computer sluggish and definitely not something that you really want. So I'll just do a quick demo with the ray tracing. I just kind of show off kind of the quality that you can get. And they don't have a lot of stuff set up like I would. For example, they don't really have a texture on the motherboard, and you can see a texture on the RAM that really adds to it. And this does take a little while. Let's turn it up to high mode, and you can kind of see the graphical quality. So I've let the render run for a little while just to kind of give you a little bit of look. It's been roughly 11 minutes now, so you kind of get a good look. About 5 to 10 minutes, you can get a pretty good idea on the vast majority, about 75 to 80% of the render time, both in the ray tracing and the rendering mode through Inventor Studio. About 75 to 80% of the time is just cleaning up that noise that you kind of see a little bit of grain in the image. Is most of that is just cleaning up the noise. So this gives you a good insight of what is possible at a bare minimum. They could have spent more time on like kind of the texture and appearance of the motherboard and made that look a little bit more snazzy. But it's just an example of what is possible. And you can kind of see that we're at the point now where cloud computing is viable, and with the LiquidSky service, other than the graphical glitches, which I hope they solve pretty soon, especially before they go to beta and this kind of becomes mainstream and more people are getting onto it. Other than that, it's pretty usable for daily use even. So I definitely see cloud computing becoming more and more important in our daily lives and more integrated. Definitely wouldn't not expect like Autodesk to possibly offer, they already offer their subscription services, which is what we have through work. But I imagine possibly a tier above, there's just a standard subscription, is the cloud hosted one, where essentially you log into a remote client and run Inventor straight off of their cloud architecture. Definitely don't see that something that they won't do in the near future, because we're definitely at the point where it is possible now. The hardware has matured. If we can get a 1080p stream at 60 FPS is definitely enough for Inventor. One thing I do hope LiquidSky does, and they have an announcement on Friday, which I'll probably release this video after I've edited it on Saturday. So I might do a quick video or something to kind of, if they have a really cool announcement. I'm hoping that with their improved graphical capabilities that they mentioned, that maybe we might get higher than 1080p streams, because at work I use a 1440p monitor. So I have to go in a full screen mode to get it on the full monitor, which isn't a big deal, but I would like just a little bit more resolution, because it allows you, especially when you're using Adobe and Inventor software, you can have a big work area, and like if you're editing a 1080p video, you essentially with a 1440p screen, you can have a 1080p video at full resolution and have all your toolbars and stuff on the edge in your extra resolution space. So having an extra resolution is useful, and I'm hoping that it's something that they can push, but it definitely is something that's going to increase the bandwidth required too, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. But we are getting to the point where it's at least at 1080p, you're definitely usable. And it allows you to really have a mobile solution that you can access from multiple computers. So it's I hope this was a insightful video. I hope if you found it interesting, maybe it sparked some interest into you researching possibly cloud computing for your kind of workflow and your daily uses. And I hope that this kind of gave you a little bit of insight into a non-gaming look at LiquidSky's cloud platform and how it can actually be used outside of the realm of gaming. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like the video if you liked it, and make sure you subscribe, and check the links in the description below for more great ways to interact with me and the channel as a whole, the Thought Provoking Tech. Hope to continue to expand and get more subscribers. Thanks for everybody that has subscribed so far. I greatly appreciate that. It's cool to see the channel start to grow. I'm working on a community site with a blog and some forums, so I'll put the link to that in the description below too, and I'll probably have a video about that in the near future. So thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, Zach out.